Okay, we're gonna make sausage cacciatore today. It's one of my family's favorites. It actually is a recipe from my mother-in-law. So if you take a French Canadian who marries an Englishman and she learns how to cook Italian, you get sausage cacciatore. So this is a recipe that I've given to many people and everyone loves it. Every time I bring it to a party, it's all gone. And it's pretty versatile as well. So I'll show you how to make it, and I'll show you all the different ways that you can cook your sausage cacciatore. Okay, so this is the ingredients for the sausage cacciatore. I have about 1 to 2 pounds of sweet Italian sausage. I have about two 4-ounce cans of mushrooms drained. I have 3 red peppers and 3 sweet onions. I also have olive oil, about a tablespoon of garlic, and salt and pepper. All right, that's pretty much all the ingredients you need for the sausage cacciatore, and I'll put that in the recipe. Sausage cacciatore, now you can eat this by itself, and probably tomorrow if we have some nice sandwich rolls, we'll make a sausage cacciatore sub. All right, so I hope you try it. All right, so the first step is dealing with your vegetables. So I have 3 red peppers. You can substitute green peppers, yellow or orange. It's your preference. I prefer the red because it has such a nice color. The green obviously adds color too, so that's your choice. So the way I cut my red peppers is I actually start at the base. So here's the stem, the base, so I'll just do a couple of slices and you just go straight down and you avoid all the seeds. So that's one of my pet peeves, is it gets those seeds from the pepper. All right, I call these my happy because I eat them as snacks and they're filled with vitamin C. So if you don't want to eat a lot of fruit, you can eat your red pepper and you get all the delicious vitamin C from them, and they're low calorie. All right, so I have 1 pepper done already. So you do the same thing with the other 2. I also like to get rid of the ribs. All right, so I do cut away the ribs from the red pepper. All right, so you do want to spend a little time getting rid of those. Okay, so I have some of my peppers here to show you how you should cut them. So once you have them all cleaned and all the ribs removed, you want to slice them, and you could do a whole bunch at once. And you want them to be a pretty good size because they are going to cook in the pan. Right, so about this size is good. All right, they are going to cook down. They'll get nice and soft. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. All right, so again, it looks like you'll have a lot, but it'll cook down in the sausage cacciatore. Okay, so we're going to cut up the rest of our peppers. Them all sliced. You don't have to be too perfect. All right, so ends up, I have a good sized bowl of peppers. And it looks like a lot, but when I figure out my vegetables, a lot of times, I like to look at the volume of my meat. And again, this is about 1 3/4 pounds of sweet Italian sausage. So I like to use an even amount of peppers with the sausage. All right, and you can see my mushrooms are here, and there's quite a lot of mushrooms. This is 2 cans, 2 4-ounce cans of mushrooms that have been drained. All right, I'm gonna move on to the onions now. All right, so I have 3 sweet onions. If cutting onions bothers you, I find doing them under the vent of your oven helps reduce a lot of the crying. All right, so I'm going to remove the top and try to get rid of the skin. I'm going to cut off the base a little bit, but not all the way through. All right, there's lots of ways I've seen people cut onions. There's a right way and a wrong way, and this is my way. So I know I'll probably get comments about how I cut my onions, but this is the way I do it. Okay, so again, cut off the stem, cut off a little bit of the base. This one looks okay, not too much skin. And I do have a paper towel down here, so it just helps me with the cleanup. This recipe is really good to bring to a party. So, let's see, it's January of 2023. So we have the Super Bowl coming up. So if you're going to a Super Bowl party, you need to bring something. This is something you can make ahead of time, and it actually tastes better the next day. I'll probably say that a couple of times in this video. All right, so again, not too much crying at all. All right, so I'm gonna start cutting my onions. You're gonna be able to see it very well on a, but I wanna make sure I don't have the skin of a few pieces here. All right, so cut them in half first. And what the trick is because you have that stem intact, you can cut right up to that stem. Right, so I want these certainly smaller than the peppers that I cut, because these are going to almost, I don't want to say cook away, but they're going to cook down quite a lot. All right, so I've cut almost to the stem, like that. All right, now I'm going to cut across this way. So I don't want them diced, but I don't want them too big either. Okay, so when I get to the part where the stem is, I can cut this up, but I'll do this at the end. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing to all of my onions. Okay, so I find the stem's on this side. Cut across, not all the way. Again, if your onions are bothering you, go under the hood of your stove. All right. Okay, so I cut up most of my onions. Here's those ends I was talking about. Gee, I hope you can see that. And they kind of fall apart afterwards, so I'm just going to cut them. Now you eventually get to that part where some people cut it and throw it away. So if you don't want to use that, that's fine. But I'm going to be cooking this up. You're not even going to notice. Okay, so right at the end there, cut it up. I have it in my bowl. So I think I've said this in another video, we like onions. So this might look like a lot of onions, but it's going to cook down and become, let's say, add a lot of flavor to the dish. All right, so we have our, again, almost equal amounts of onion with your meat. And here's the red pepper. All right, so we have all the prep work done pretty much. So the next step is putting it together. Okay, I'm gonna start cooking my sausages. Normally I put them in my quart pan here like this, but you won't be able to see it. So I'm gonna do them in my low profile pan, a sauteing pan, and this is gonna do just as good a job as high as it goes. I'm gonna let my pan get pretty hot, and I'm going to add my olive oil. And actually, for the sausages, I just want to add a little bit of olive oil. All right, so let this warm up. I'm going to get rid of this pan here. I'm probably going to cook some pasta to go with the sausage cacciatore. So I'll show that later. All right, so this is warming up. I feel it. All right, so the sausages don't need a lot of fat, but this just helps so that it doesn't stick as much. Okay, so you can see my sausages are starting to cook. You should definitely put the fan on smoky. All right, so I had to move locations because it got a little too smoky in the kitchen. All right, so I have my sausage. You can see they're browning. Now, don't worry if you see that darkness on the bottom of the pan. That's going to add a lot of flavor to the onions and the peppers. I hope you can hear me over these. So this is definitely going to throw off some smoke. Okay. Turn it up a little bit. And so I wait until I feel that the sausages are cooked just about all the way through. I do cut them into coins and then put them back in the pan, so they do cook afterwards. But I want to make sure they get a good, get cooked almost all the way through. While your sausages are cooking, it's a good idea to give them a little poke. That also tells me if they're close to being done. These are nowhere near being done. So I'd say probably plan on cooking these for at least 15 to 20 minutes, and I have it set on a medium high, but if it starts smoking too much, I might have to cut that back and just cook it slower. Okay, so we've gotten a little bit farther along for the sausages. They're still not quite done yet, because once I feel they're done, I'm actually going to remove them from the pan and put them in a casserole dish to rest. And then I'm going to cook my onions and peppers and garlic in here. So you separate the meat. Okay, so we're getting pretty close. I'm actually going to test one of them. I'm going to cut into a sausage to see how close I am. Right, and I can see that the meat is still raw. Right, you can see that, bring that up there. So I'm going to leave it in. All right, so again, if you're not a confident cook, you might think I'm burning these sausages. So I'm going to cut down the heat a little bit. So they are getting closer. Right, it's just the center. And I don't want to take them out raw at all. I want them to be just about cooked all the way through, even though they're going to cook some more in the pan. All right, so I'm going to test one more. See how we're doing. This one. Okay, this one's a lot closer. Right, so a little bit pink in there, but I know it's going to cook some more in the other pan. All right, I'm going to shut off my heat. Right, and I'm going to put them in a casserole dish to let the meat rest. So I turned off my heat because I don't want the pan to get super hot without any food in it. All right, so again, you can see all the burn on the bottom here. That is not going to be a problem. All right, so now you're going to add, be careful because your pan's hot. I'm going to add some more olive oil, all right, because I'm going to cook my onions. So I'm going to put all of those onions in. And I still have my burner off, because I can see how hot my pan is. I don't want to burn my onions, obviously. I just want them to get softened, and they're going to take up a lot of the flavor from the sausages. And I'm going to add my salt and pepper. Salt and pepper. This is about half a teaspoon. All right, and add my pepper. That pan was hot. I still have it off. I find that with these smooth top ovens, electric, they do stay pretty hot. I've gotten used to it. I'm gonna add a little more oil. Okay, it's starting to slow down now, I can tell. Okay, so I am gonna be cooking my peppers next with the onions, so I'm gonna turn my burner back up to medium. Actually, let me put my garlic in there now. So I have about a tablespoon of chopped garlic. Don't burn your garlic. This might take 15 to 30 seconds to start to cook. Okay. Okay, now I'm gonna add my peppers. Peppers have a lot of water in them, and they are going to cool down that pan quite a lot. I'm going to actually put on my water for my pasta while this is cooking. All right, so we're going to make some thin spaghetti. All right, so put on high. Alright, so my peppers are going pretty well. I still have to add my mushrooms to this. I had mentioned I thought I was going to use thin spaghetti, but it turns out I'm going to use linguine fini, which is just a thinner version than the flat linguine. So I like this more than the regular linguine, and it supposedly takes the same amount of time to cook, but I find that the linguine does take longer than the thin spaghetti. It's your preference. If you have thin spaghetti or angel hair pasta, you can use that as well. All right, so while the vegetables are cooking, I'm going to start cutting up my sausages. Let's see, yep. I can show you the size that I cut them. Again, you want to think about when someone eats this, how big you should cut it. So I don't want to make it too big or too small. If you cut them too thin, they'll fall apart. All right, so this is about a good size right there. Alright, you're going to cut up your sausage, get that all ready, because this happens pretty fast. Once the pasta is cooked, then everything's done. Alright, so my peppers and onions have really softened. You can see I still have some of the black on the bottom of the pan. Don't worry. Alright, I'm going to add my mushrooms now, so the mushrooms will last. If you do not like mushrooms, then you don't have to add them, or you don't have to add as much. All right, I'm going to get that going. We're getting pretty close. My water is thinking about boiling. It will in a minute. Okay, so give that a good stir. All right, I'm going to continue cutting up my sausage. Sausage. Okay. Those mushrooms look like they're doing okay. I'm going to add all my meat back into the pan to let it cook some more. all my worry about the sausage cooking will get taken care of now. All right, so my water's definitely boiling. Right, now I know with this burner, it's a quick boil burner, I'm gonna cut down. I hope it doesn't fog up my camera. Okay, so a good amount of salt. It's a good tablespoon of salt in here. Some people say it has to be like the ocean. All right, I never add oil to my water. Some people add oil because it prevents the pasta from sticking. I've never had that problem. Right, so my meat is still cooking in here. My pasta now, my linguine fini. I'm gonna actually, a lot of people are probably gonna scream with me doing this, but my grandmother always cut it in half. All right, so she broke the pasta in half, just so that it cooks better when I put it in the pan. All right, so I cut my pasta in half. This is probably one box of pasta. All right, so get it all in there. It's all cooking at the same time. I think that's the main reason she did that. It's just so your pasta isn't sticking up out of your water. All right, and obviously you have to stir it. I mean, if I didn't stir it, it would stick. All right, but if you always added oil to your water, add the oil. But I don't. Okay, so I'm stirring that. I want this to come back to a boil, so here's my wooden spoon trick again. Put the wooden spoon across. I do have to cut down my burner to 2 and cover it, but I definitely have to watch this. There's a lot of water in here. I don't want it to boil over. All right, so the meat, peppers, onions, garlic are all cooking. They look like they're almost done, but we're gonna add the sauce. All right, so this is probably at least 2 cups of sauce. I'm gonna add most of it to this and save some for my spaghetti. If you're not doing the spaghetti, then just put it all in your sausage cacciatore. Right. So I probably added a good 1.5 cups of sauce. Right. And that tomato sauce is gonna pull up a lot of the goodness from the bottom of the pan. The tomato sauce is acidic, so it has the ability to clean up your pan. It's almost like a deglazing. All right, so the pasta is really starting to boil now. So I'm going to give it a good stir again. And I think the wooden spoon, the reason it helps is because it doesn't conduct the heat as well as a metal spoon. So if you have a metal spoon, don't do the spoon trick. You have to have a wooden spoon. Okay, so the pasta is cooking pretty well. Nowhere near being done. All right, so I didn't time this for how long. I can do it by eye, but I think right now I'm going to check. I'm probably going to put 5 minutes on my timer just to see. I'm going to cut down the heat on my sausage cacciatore. Because essentially everything is cooked now. All right. Okay, so I just want to keep it warm until the pasta's done. Okay, so I have about a minute left on that 5 minutes for the pasta. And when I look at my pasta, I can tell it's getting close. Okay, so I'm going to test one. See how it... And for me, it's still a little chewy. All right, so that I'm going to at least let it go, that 5 minutes. If you wanted to add jarred sauce to this, you don't have to make your own spaghetti sauce or tomato sauce. You can use the jarred sauce. All right, you're allowed. Okay, so I'm pretty sure my pasta is cooked. Let me try one more piece. Looks like it's done. I think they said 5 to 7 minutes, but Yeah, that's how we like it. A little bit chewy, but again, your family's preference, you cook what your family likes. All right, so I'm gonna strain my pasta. Again, make sure your sink is clean. And get a little backwash, especially with soap. That's really the thing that bothers me. You have soap in there. Okay. All right, just gonna let it bring it back over here. All right, so we're all done with this. Now I washed out the dish I had cooked the meat in earlier. All right, so I make sure I, clean, because the meat could have been a little raw. All right, so it's all cleaned out. I'm going to transfer everything into my casserole dish. That stops the cooking process. And I do want to show you that most of that browning came off. Okay. All right, and we have our pasta. All right, so just need to make a couple plates. All right, so I'm gonna make a couple of plates. We like to use almost like a soup bowl or a pasta bowl. My husband can eat a remarkable amount of pasta. All right, for me, not so much, so you should do that much for my husband, and then a couple of spoonfuls of the sausage cacciatore on top. So that's sausage cacciatore. Now you can eat this by itself, and probably tomorrow, if we have some nice sandwich rolls, we'll make a sausage cacciatore sub. All right, so I hope you try it. Now you have leftover pasta and the sausage cacciatore, so you can make a great sandwich just from the sausage cacciatore. So if you bring this to someone's house, you can just bring some bread rolls and they can make a sandwich. All right, so just have to heat it up in the microwave. I wouldn't heat it up too long. Maybe 30 seconds to a minute, depends on how strong your microwave is. All right, so definitely cover it with a paper towel. This is about 1 minute. All right, don't want it too hot, but you want it warm through. But if you put it in a slow cooker, it will stay nice and warm if you bring it to someone's house. I tend to put a few spoonfuls in there. You need really good Italian bread. All right, something strong. Some people prefer a softer bread, but it's hard with the soft bread to hold up if you make a sandwich. All right, so you need a good crusty Italian, these are called Italian long buns. I like to let it sit in there, let the bread. This one is when you'll appreciate all the onion, peppers, and mushrooms for sure. Okay, good.